If you're just joining us on Bridges today, we're going to open up the conversation about blended families and how to address the challenges and embrace the blessings. And so the interview that we're going to do right now is by way of video conference, and it's with a blended family, and their ministry name is Better Than Blended. So I'm excited for you to be able to meet Willie and Rachel Scott. And Willie and Rachel, welcome to Bridges today.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
I'm glad to have you. You know, in this first segment of Bridges, we had a couple talk about co-parenting and some things like that. I know that you all are not just a blended family, you're better than blended, but let's start out with just a little bit about your stories.
Well, we both grew up in blended families ourselves, and so our experience started from childhood of experiencing this being blended, and then we became married, and my husband had 3 children, I had 2, and we had 2 together. So we merged our families together, and it's been a great experience.
Right.
Well, that's wonderful. How is a traditional family different from a blended family?
Well, the way we explain it is, a traditional family is you have one father, one mother, and then you have one child or one set of children. Whereas in a blended family, you can have multiple, you have more than one father, more than one mother, and more than one set of children. And then there's usually also a lot of other outside influences that come into play.
Yeah. And I would think with all the things that you just mentioned, for example, the outside influences, having more than one mom and dad and sets of children, does that make raising a blended family challenging?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yes.
we always like to say that it's a beautiful challenge.
A beautiful challenge? What are some of the challenges?
I mean, some of the challenges are just really having so many outside influences, whether it's trying to figure out how to discipline, because you have to take into consideration the other parents that are involved, or weekend visits, or
summer
visits. There are so many just different dynamics that go into where someone may be able to just plan a summer vacation. We have to consider so many things before we can plan a summer vacation. So that's just an example.
Yeah, and that makes total sense. And that's even just something on a fun thing like summer vacation.
Yes.
But then I would think, you know, for things like holidays, and you mentioned discipline.
Yes.
I would imagine and want to ask you, you know, when people get remarried or they have this blended family, just because a couple, now that they're married, does that mean that a parent that's not a biological parent would automatically be able to discipline someone else's child? How does that work?
Well, what we like to, what we talked about recently on one of our posts, somebody sent in a question in that same format, is that we're big on discipleship, which discipline comes from the root word disciple. And the difference between the two is discipline is punishment for the sake of punishment. You did something, here's the consequence, no matter whether it teaches a lesson or not. Where our big thing is really discipleship, where it teaches a lesson. So the question to that would be, and are we married, when couples are remarried, then each parent has an assignment in that child's life. So each parent should play a role of discipleship in that child's life, in whatever form it looks like. But there should be a role of discipleship in that child's life. So discipline is something that each parent should play a role in, whether they're bio parent or a step parent.
Right. So you're saying that does come up, but you look at it from a discipleship issue.
Right.
I think with that, we also have to take into consideration the forms of discipline, the boundaries, as far as making sure that each parent is comfortable with it. That's where, when it comes to a blended family, is so many other influences. Yeah. Is there a parenting arrangement involved? Is there custody? Are you going to court? What's the relationship? So you have to take all those things into consideration. But if the root of it is discipleship, then that'll lead the best.
And discipline will look differently than maybe in a traditional home, because we have to think outside of the normal box of how we discipline.
Yeah. And I would think that you all learned some of this because you came from blended families.
Right.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
now you're offering helps to others. One of the things that you've mentioned are outside influences. So you've got multiple parents and grandparents, and how do you all how do you all deal with that, and how do you help other blended families deal with that? Because I would think, you know, just for anybody, just raising up a child in a traditional home is challenging. I mean, we're all depending on the Lord for sure, but how do you all deal with the multiple outside influences?
I think the big thing in that is really setting boundaries and understanding what needs to be something that's influencing the home and what kind of may not have anything to do with how you want to operate things in your home. So the big thing in that is just setting boundaries and understanding how you want things to operate in your home and allowing that to be the goal that kind of navigates how the relationships work.
Right, communication is key.
Yes.
And that the spouses have to communicate with each other and be on the same page and talk about what bothers them, what they like, what they don't like, so then they can support one another wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. And so before you all got married, did you have all of this figured out and the boundaries set, or?
I wish.
No, that's one thing that we definitely love is that we walk this journey with people.
Right.
So we talk from our experience with childhood as well as our experience walking through the journey of becoming a blended family that's like really intentional, just because we've learned so much from childhood.
Right. In the beginning, Monica, one of the things, like some of the stuff would be frustrating. The challenges would be really frustrating because we didn't understand it. Now, I believe, even though they're still frustrating to a certain point, now it's not as frustrating because we know there's a purpose behind everything that we've experienced. We've been able to pour into other people, so that we know there's a greater picture behind what we're going through. So with that in mind, we bear it, and it's sometimes uncomfortable, but we know that it's for a greater purpose.
Yeah. So by keeping the bigger picture in mind, you're able to kind of go through it, even if it's uncomfortable, to go through it with grace.
Right.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, because I saw this on your website, it says being a blended family doesn't mean that you have to be a broken family. And broken families is something that we hear about, you know, even with traditional families and all over the place. So many families are broken. What do you mean by being a blended family doesn't mean you have to be broken, and how could somebody achieve that?
You know, I really think that whenever blended families come together, it's either because of a relationship that didn't work or death in the family or something like that. So everyone comes into the picture with some level of brokenness. And I think people feel like they have to stay stuck at that point. And so what we want to encourage people to know is that you don't have to continue to be broken. You can experience wholeness, you can experience unity, you can still experience oneness within your family, even if what led you to this point was brokenness.
Yeah. I would imagine, and I've talked to many people that have said, you know, that they just feel like giving up, that like once they get into that whole blended thing, whether it's custody, visitation, planning vacations, discipline, they just kind of feel like it's coming at them from everywhere and they don't know what to do. What can somebody do that feels like they just need to give up?
I think they need to stay focused on the fact that that this is an assignment. Sometimes we get so caught up in the titles of things that we don't realize that there is a specific reason why you have a place in that child's life. And try to find what is the specific assignment that I've been given that only I can fulfill in that moment. That's just something that we're really big on, is understanding what is the assignment, because we can get distracted by all the other things going on that we forget to pay attention to what am I able to do in this child's life that only I can pour into them, that only I can provide for them.
Yeah.
Right. One thing that my wife is big on, Monica, is there's a story of a man who was building a wall. And this wall was so important to protecting the city. And there was a time frame they had to have it built in. So as people were coming to him, trying to get him to come down, take a break, he said, no, you know what, I can't come down. I can't come down because the assignment's too great. So one of her things she speaks to, this applies to the fathers as well, but she really pours into other mothers, and she tells them that, no, I can't come down. Like, this assignment is too great. I have to pour into whatever child I'm assigned to, I have to pour into their life, whether it's my bio child or my stepchild, or if it's niece or nephew, whoever it is, I have to pour into the child's life, and I can't stop. So I can't let all these other distractions pull me away from the assignment, which is really nurturing and cultivating the soil for these children.
That's good. That's a biblical example.
Yeah.
Of
Nehemiah
yeah, I've got this and I've got to do it, and it's so important I can't stop for any distraction or for anything that might come the way. One of the things that you mentioned when we talked about being blended doesn't mean broken is we talked about oneness and unity. How do you foster unity? Like, you all have 7 children between the two of you. Even, you know, even if those were all your biological children, that's a lot of children to be parenting. But in a blended family, even heightened complications. What can people do to foster unity?
Well, one thing that we do is we really utilize the word intentional. We really believe that if you're not being intentional with it, it's going to be almost impossible.
Yeah.
So one thing that we do is we have a family day. And with that family day, we literally will, and it's not the whole day, it's just the evening part of the day when they get home from school, but everyone knows that Tuesday is family day, and we're doing something. We try to work with either finances, faith, giftings, or I can't remember what the third one was, but each Tuesday is finances, faith, giftings, and fun. And each Tuesday is, we pick from one of those areas, and we just do something with the kids, whether we focus on one child and they like to play the drums, so we just pretend we're a band for that day, or whatever we possibly can do. We just really let them know that we're a family, and even if it's just on this one day where we all get to come together and do something for 30 minutes to an hour together, that is just being intentional with the time we have together.
Yeah. And we are almost out of time, I'm sorry to say. How do you all handle challenges as a couple?
How do we handle challenges as a couple?
Oh, challenges as a couple is we try to make sure that there's no division. Communication is key. Like us being on the same page, making sure that we don't allow the children to see division amongst us, or we don't allow others to see the division amongst us. They can see that we're communicating properly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to thank you both so much for joining us by video today. It's been good to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
We are out of time. We've got to go, but we say goodbye and God bless you.
For more information on a guest, visit our website, CTNTv.org.
You can purchase a copy of today's show for $15. Call us at 615-754-0039 or send a check to the address on the screen. Please mention the program number on the screen.
Join the Bridges community on Facebook. Visit Facebook and search for Bridges with Monica. We would love to connect with you.
Prayer changes things. If you need prayer, write to the address on the screen. Call 615-754-0039 or email prayer@ctntv.org.
Log on to www.ctntv.org, where you can make a prayer request, view our program guide, see who's on Bridges, or even watch one of Monica's latest teachings. Log on to www.ctntv.org.